welcome to NKAA Entertainment presents insert name of video game podcast here. So for right now, we're just going to call it Video Game Podcast.
I think we're going to discuss that in a minute. I have an idea. I said on the Hip Hop Podcast.
We're going to talk about a couple of things today. And one of those things is obviously with E3 approaching, we're going to talk about E3. We're going to give some E3 predictions. We're going to talk about what we might see, what we won't see, and what it all means. We'll talk about the state of a couple of games that are going on and whatever else kind of comes up in the conversation. So, you got
Wheezy.
Some Cuban guy.
And Enforcer.
And obviously, Mr. Psycho here, and we're going to talk video games today. So, let's get it started.
Podcast name real quick. I feel like
Oh, God.
we've gone through what? This is our 5th episode with no name.
Yes.
We need a name.
So I think it should be called the Video Game Podcast that has no name because we're too damn lazy to give it one.
That's way too long.
Yeah, this is way too long.
I think it works.
I mean, it's accurate. It's accurate, but I don't think it works. It's 100% accurate, but it doesn't.
I think it works. People remember, be like, man, what's that podcast with that really long ass name? Don't know what they're talking about.
Well, we're going to table that. And we may return to it, but we probably will not ever.
Because we're too damn lazy to talk about it.
Alright, so let's just get this out of the way. Destiny 2 is just ass. Right? This was the update that was going to fix it, and it fixed nothing. And they're like, oh, look, now you're not going to get doubles when you buy Ingrams, but you still have to buy a bunch of Ingrams and work towards the thing that you want. And there's still no end game. They put in a horde mode that nobody cares about. And of all the people that I know that bought Destiny 2 when it came out, only one person still plays, and that's some Cuban guy who's currently rolling his eyes at me because he can't admit to himself or the rest of the world that Destiny 2...
First of all, how many hours of the game have you played since the update?
I turned the game on. I got the update. I went into the game. I was like, yep, nothing new to see here, and shut it off.
So approximately how much?
I don't know,
10
quarter
minutes?
of an hour, quarter of an hour?
10 minutes.
Quarter of an hour. Give me
You
a
played
quarter
all.
of an
You
hour.
played all, but
So 15
you played all but
minutes.
15 minutes of the update.
So loaded.
You gotta quote the correct amount of time there.
Let me tell you where you're wrong. All right. So the community that's actually playing the game and actually enjoys the game.
All two people.
The two probably.
I imagine there's more than 2 developers.
Yeah. Probably close. I mean, you guys can make fun of the game all you want. It's still being played by millions of people.
I'll make fun of it all I
Doesn't
want.
matter.
I've never played it. I don't own any of it.
Yeah, Chris is fun.
It's a piece of shit.
It's fun. It doesn't matter.
Hey, oh, we got 4 people here right now. Vote. Is this game a piece of shit? Put your hands up. That's 3 out of 4 people vote that this game is a piece of shit. And
So
that's a scientific fact.
If we're just going to sit here and just berate the game and just berate me, well,
No, we're not. No, we're not berating you.
It's like,
No.
but you guys are all like attacking me about it, and it's like let's actually have a discussion about
Agreed.
this game.
Let's have a
Okay?
discussion about the game.
Rather than
Jesus.
you guys just saying, "Oh, it's a piece of shit," with no actual evidence backing up, other than like, "Oh, well, we played this game for a little bit and then
John,
we stopped
All
playing."
right, so my evidence
So-
backing it up is I played the entire main campaign of it, and it was garbage.
That was before the update.
Yeah,
Yes.
but you can't have a game that's garbage and expect an update to bring people back.
Why is the game garbage?
It's the exact same thing as Destiny 1.
No, that's
Well, no,
not.
see, I won't-
that's not at all accurate because the main complaint that everyone is having is that it's not like Destiny.
No, there is no end game.
No, Destiny 1 had endgame.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did.
Man, Jose is defending this game like
It
Drake
had
fans are
barely
defending Drake.
any end game.
Jesus.
I will say this as far as what Jose is saying. The original game, when it released, was serviceable. Like, I played it, we put a lot of time into it, but it did get frustrating. All the things that they changed, the way that they changed Iron Banner, the way that they changed all of the different things that go on in the game, they made things so that you couldn't unlock things. Instead of saying, listen, here's what we're selling this week for Iron Banner. At this level, at level 2, you get something. At level 3, you get something. At level 5, you get something the way that it used to be. And then you'd save up your tokens and you would buy specific pieces of gear. They're like, we're not going to do that. You're going to turn in your tokens and we'll give you random shit. and if you don't get some of the set, oh well, because every time there's a new set, and if you don't complete it, then sucks to be you.
Yeah, I agree. When the game first came out, the way that they handled the weekly events like Iron Banner and Faction Rally was very poor, incredibly poor. I agree with you 100% there. That it really, especially the Faction Rally, meant literally nothing. Like joining a faction meant next to nothing.
Yeah,
because you can just join a faction on each character, and it didn't really mean anything. On top of that, the only system you had was just you get a bunch of tokens, you do lost sectors, you kill things, and then you turn in tokens. That's it. And then you hope if you get the gear or not. And for the most part, it was pretty shitty. Yeah, I agree. And same thing with Iron Banner. I mean, as the season went on, especially with Season 2, they kind of improved it a little bit, but it still, I agree, it still was not enough. It was still very, it felt very meticulous and not really, it wasn't satisfactory gameplay, I'll say that. That's 100% accurate.
Yeah, so I mean...
Now, with Season 3, it did change a lot of things, okay? There is... One of my biggest complaints from Season 1 and 2 was it didn't feel like there was anything to really grind for, right?
Because they took all of it away.
Yeah.
They made it all just random.
Yeah, there was no more random rolls, so you couldn't get that dodge roll for your weapons anymore. So and that's still a common problem, I will say, is that the legendary weapons, even though they added the masterwork system, it still doesn't feel like you're really like trying to like grind for anything as far as the legendary weapons go. But they did change the sandbox for a lot of the exotics, so a lot of the exotics feel a lot better. They feel like exotics, like how exotics are supposed to feel. So they did upgrade those, and now this past week they added an update where they're starting to tune the exotic armor, so that now the exotic armor is starting to feel a little bit better, and just they're doing like little tweaks in there that feel good. Like there are a lot of like quality of life stuff, but I agree. I mean, it's very, very late in the cycle.
And so, for me, like I give it a lot of criticism because of all of our group, all of our clan that played, I was the last holdout. I played that game after nobody else did. I would get on every week and I'd do that shit by myself, and it just got to the point where there was no reason to do it. And in my opinion, this update is too little, too late. Right? I mean, they had this criticism in Season 1. Right after the game launched, people were like, here's what you need to fix. They're like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. We'll just keep doing what we want to do. And then when Season 2 came out and it was essentially the same thing, players were like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
And that's when most people quit. And I tried to play on a little bit, and then I was like, all right, everybody else is gone, I'm done. And then Season 3 came out like, hey, we added some new stuff, but in my opinion, the updates have been lazy.
Well,
we got new raids with Destiny 1. This one, they're like, hey, we're not going to give you a new raid, but we'll give you a new, like, part of a raid in the ship. And
the raid layers, right.
And that just screams laziness to me.
Well, I will say this. The raid layers do feel... Well, the first one was kind of... I agree. It was a little bit... It was, like, not one of the best raids they've done, 100%. But the new one that came out, Spire of Stars, that came out with the Warmind DLC, this was the first one that was done by Vicarious Visions. So, and for those of you who don't know, Vicarious Visions is the developer that worked on the PC version of Destiny 2. Now, Vicarious Visions was really in charge of this entire DLC, honestly. They came up with everything. So, a lot of the game now, with all the updated stuff, is Vicarious Visions. So, the raid layer for this one is totally different. It's one of the best raid experiences they've done, 100%. Yes, it is a shorter raid, but the mechanics that are involved, the jumping puzzle that they have, it's very, very, it's super awesome. Basically, there's secret chests in the jumping puzzle now, and then in order to get the secret chest, there's this ball you have to pass around to everyone, and it's really, if you watch a video of it, if you play it yourself, you guys will know what I'm talking about. But it's really, really cool, and the final boss, Valkaur, is one of the hardest bosses they've ever done. Probably the hardest boss they've ever done, just in terms of like mechanics. Because there's so much stuff going on on the screen at the same time, and there's so much to worry about. So he's definitely a very, very good challenge. But with all that being said, there's still a lot of issues with the game. Mainly, like Mr. Psycho said, or like Enforcer said as well, is a lot of the endgame stuff is not there. Now, that's where they brought in Escalation Protocol, which is the quote-unquote horde mode that they added to the game. One of the best aspects of the DLC is that mode. The reason why is because what it's doing is, when the mode first came out, Bungie said that they intended this mode to be done for for a fire team of 3, okay, and it was essentially supposed to be just for like max level people to grind and get this gear, because there's loot there's loot specific drops for that event, for that particular event, and it is these incredibly powerful weapons that only the boss drops. There's like 7 waves, and once you get to the 7th wave, you have to fight like this boss with his own mechanics and all this stuff. So it's actually incredibly entertaining. But what happened is that it was originally way too difficult for a fire team of 3, because the max level that you can get right now is 385, and the last 2 waves were 400 level enemies. So every time you went in those, you would always see the red sword icon next to the enemies, which means that they're a higher level than you. So it was a very, very difficult encounter, and pretty much impossible for a 3-man team to do. So the community started finding a way to get 9 people into an encounter. So you had these 9-person like kind of raid, like mini raid groups doing Escalation Protocol. And that's where the game got super fun, because you had 9 Guardians just fighting all these waves and waves of enemies. And so in this last week, they kind of released a patch to kind of lower the levels for the Escalation Protocol. So people are kind of like up in arms about that, because they liked how challenging that particular event was. So we'll see what happens from there, and because I played like a few hours of Escalation Protocol today, just trying to get the weapons that drop from the boss. But overall, it's a very, very fun thing, and I hope they bring back something, not necessarily Escalation Protocol, but something that involves like a 9-man fire team, because I think that would be really, really awesome. So we'll see what they end up doing with that.
Okay, all right. So we'll move on to another game which. Everyone in here, with the exception of Wheezy, because he doesn't really play games anymore, actually enjoys, which is Sea of Thieves.
Yes.
Right? So we've really been playing Sea of Thieves a lot recently, especially since the update this past Tuesday. And again, Sea of Thieves is another game that's meant to be played online with other people, much the same way the Destiny is, and it has its share of problems, much the same way the Destiny did. But the problems in Sea of Thieves are not, in my opinion, as glaring and as damning as the problems in Destiny 2. We went over some of those, so we don't need to go back over them, but at least Sea of Thieves and the developers behind it, Rare, are trying to be open and honest and transparent with the community, and they're actually trying to give us things like, oh, you guys don't like this? All right, well, let's give you something to fix that thing that you specifically don't like.
Yeah, and the great thing is they're doing it weekly. They're doing it in weekly updates, which is one of my favorite things about this game, is one of the biggest complaints that the mainstream kind of had with this game is it was very bare bones when it first launched,
and it wasn't finished. I mean, let's be honest.
And people were complaining because it was a $60 game.
It was basically a beta test.
Yes,
it had very little involved.
Yes. Isn't that what most games are these days? You have to buy
a lot of
them.
Yeah.
This one,
this
it was
one
glaring. Like, you could
specifically,
see,
especially since it was a first party game.
Yeah,
and
it's a Microsoft game.
Not to mention that the biggest issue, the reason it got labeled a beta, a $60 beta, was because for those people that were invited into the technical alphas and the betas, it essentially was the exact same game when it released. They didn't change anything.
With even less content.
Yes.
Than what was
and then
the world, like they added in the world itself, because like when you did the alphas and the beta, like there was nothing under the water. There was, it was just the islands themselves. Like the content is what you were playing was what the game released as. It was the actual game itself, the technical aspects of it that were part of the
just
alpha.
the scenery design, stuff like that.
Yeah, that was what
it was very bare bones.
But I mean, to the point where, and we still make a joke about this, but to the point where the Kraken was supposed to be this amazing encounter that was unlike anything else, and the Kraken is essentially stalks that come out of the water.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing underneath the water. There's no, like, body of the Kraken. You jump in, there's just tentacles at the top of the water grabbing things, and there's nothing underneath them under the water.
If you fall in the water, it's just black, so you can't see anything. It's like...
Yeah.
And it looks especially shit now with the new stuff that what they came up with, which we'll get into in a little bit.
But again, it's like the game had problems. The community, said, here's what's going on. And the developer's like, okay, we're going to fix this. If you guys give us a little bit of time, here's our roadmap. Here's what we're going to do. Here's when we're going to do it. And please just stick with us. And we know a lot of you paid money for this. So the people that bought the game, we're going to give you this. You're going to get this item. You're going to get this item. We're going to give you incentives for staying with us and helping us make the game better. And you can see that they're genuinely trying to make it a fun experience. There's still some problems with the game. I mean, we played it last night for a couple of hours, and we had a lot of fun, but the sailing can be tedious, because it always seems whenever you have to go somewhere, the wind is against you. So you're moving super slow.
Yeah, we need... What I think what we need is some kind of activity that we can do on the ship. Something like fishing or something like that. That would, like, pass the time of getting from one spot of the map to another. Because a lot of the time it's just a long, long voyage.
Getting an instrument that blows wind to the sails.
Yeah,
That
or
would be awesome.
I mean,
Stand there with a fan, just blowing.
I mean, we already have activities. You can get super drunk on the ship and throw up on your crewmates. I do that all the time. You can ring the bell until your crewmates jump off the ship because they're tired of hearing it. I've done that too.
You play shanties and all
Annoy
that.
whoever's steering
You can
by just dancing in front of them.
Blocking
Yeah.
their view.
you can throw a bucket of vomit on the person steering and cause them to throw up themselves.
Well, that's great.
You can take out your weapon. You can take.
You're
out
really
your...
selling this game.
Yeah, no. You take out your musical instrument and summon Daniel Bryan. It's amazing. You can summon Daniel Bryan. It's fantastic. Your instruments, one of the shanties you play is Daniel Bryan's entrance music.
Right.
So we're pretty convinced if we can get enough people on one ship playing that song, that Daniel Bryan will just come out of the water, much like the Kraken, like land on our ship and just blow it up. I mean, we're still attempting it. Right now we've had 6 people doing it and he hasn't shown up. But eventually he's gonna show up. He's gonna be there. He has to.
But anyway, back to the topic at hand.
Daniel Bryan's not the topic at hand?
No.
Oh, wrong podcast.
So anyway, no, but like Mr. Psycho was saying, like, one of the key differences for this game compared to, say, a game like Destiny is that there's not really any other experience in gaming wise like it.
No.
So it really, really gives you that sense of like role playing as a pirate, and it's a very, very fun game. It's one of the most fun games to play with a group of friends, honestly.
Is there booty in it?
Yes, there's tons.
Yeah,
of
there's a
booty.
place called Booty Isle, actually.
Yes,
That's my kind of place.
and Scurvy Isley now.
Yeah,
Straight.
Whoa.
It's the Bernstein Bears of
Nobody wants
Sea of
scurvy.
Thieves.
All right.
But anyway, but no, I think one of the great things that Rare has done is they're being very, very transparent with their core audience, and not only are they releasing weekly patches, but they're also releasing weekly video updates as well with the developers, stating what's coming in the current patch, what's coming in the next patch, and what's going to be on the horizon, what they're working on. They're being super, super transparent with everyone, which is fantastic, and something that Bungie should really take note of, because Rare is kind of like blowing them out of the water in that aspect. And I think Rare realizes what their game is, and they realize, hey, we need to make our game different than any other game. So what they're doing is they're basically really listening to their community and what their community wants, and they're giving the community what the community wants very, very quickly and on a very, very timely basis. So that's why a lot of the people that are sticking around with the game are really, really enjoying it, because they see the effort that Rare is making in making this game a great game.
And we know that Rare is listening to this podcast specifically, so we just want to get it out there on the record
Our
and tell
first
them
subscriber.
we need 6 crew member galleons, possibly 8 crew member galleons. This 4 thing is not going to cut it.
With a brand new ship, actually.
Yeah.
Do like a Man of War or something like that.
A much larger ship with
cannons on each side.
Well, especially when you have content that
That'd
requires,
be so awesome.
especially with content that requires more than a 4-person team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right. So let's
Could
get
you
right into.
could you imagine eight crew galleon versus 8 crew
Well,
galleon?
yeah,
How awesome would
That
that
would
be?
be
Well,
amazing.
real quick before we go, because piggybacking off of what Cuban guy was saying, I'm one of those mainstream players. Like when the game came out, I played it. I got basically all of my 3 factions that you do work for up to level 20, and then I stopped because it was the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Like what we're about to talk about, this update, this expand or DLC expansion thing, it brought me back and I loved it. So
And again, one more criticism is the thing that Rare needs to do now is they need to really reevaluate the manner in which you level through your factions. They need to reevaluate the amount of loot you get,
Rep it takes
and
2 to level
yeah,
up.
because it's super high, and most people have not been able to reach the highest level without doing some kind of farming or joining boats that have full treasures, and then they just turn it in, and that's how they do it. But again, we had an update this past Tuesday, which is called the Hungering Deep, and Rare really delivered, in my opinion, a fantastic update to their fans.
Yeah.
So the Hungering Deep is a story that you trigger from any outpost. You follow, I think it's 5 clues you get, and it culminates with you fighting a giant, fantastic-looking megalodon shark. It's got double fins, it's ridged, it's got 4 eyes, it's super cool. It's much bigger than your boat.
Yep.
But here's where we get into the problem. As great as this update is, and it is great, when you have a 4-person galleon, to summon the shark, you have to have 5 people playing instruments together, right? So you automatically can't do it with your own team. So you have to try to find somebody in the world that's willing to work with you. But in this game, most of the time, people don't want to work with you. They want to sink your ship and steal your shit. So finding someone...
who would have thought in a pirate game?
Finding people that are actually willing to help out, especially after they've already done the encounter themselves, is difficult.
Or then you run into the problem we ran into last night.
Well, no, because we were able to get a group with us.
But what I'm saying is the problem we ran into last night.
Oh, well, we dealt with that problem very
Yeah. So the problem that Enforcer is alluding to is some Cuban guy and I had already done the encounter. So we were doing the encounter again so that Enforcer could do it and so that my wife could do it. And another ship just showed up while we're fighting the Megalodon and tried to blow us up for no reason. Like, we're clearly in an activity. We're not bothering anybody. They sailed over to us.
Yeah.
They saw the Megalodon.
Yeah.
They saw the Megalodon attacking us. They saw us shooting the Megalodon and completely ignoring them. And they're like, hey, let's just try to blow you up.
Yeah, I don't even understand, because people who are fighting the Megalodon are not going to have any treasure on our ship.
Yeah.
So it's like
They're doing it to grief.
Yeah,
to grief.
They
They were
griefing.
trolls.
Like, you're just being an asshole. So, but we ended up sinking their ship.
Can't the Megalodon just swallow your ship?
Well,
It's big enough too, but they didn't program it to do that.
He does a massive amount of damage to your ship.
And
that's for sure.
and that's my other issue, right? So, if the galleons were larger, if you could have larger crews, then your encounter with the Megalodon, I think, would be more fun. You could turn the difficulty up on the Megalodon, but right now the issue is, for you to survive the encounter, 2 people have to be below deck repairing. Because whenever the Megalodon hits your galleon, you're getting anywhere between 2 and 4 holes that have to be patched, depending on where he hits.
Like, immediately.
And they do
not
a
only
lot
that,
of damage.
Yeah, but not only that, they do a lot of damage to your person, to your guy, too.
Yeah, so if you don't have 2 people below deck patching holes, you're not going to survive. But that leaves 2 people above deck trying to shoot the Megalodon. So that's 1 on either side shooting at the Megalodon, and it's hard to.
But that's what I was actually alluding to, was the fact that we had another crew with us, and it ended up being just one person because the other person apparently got kicked offline. And then as soon as we summoned the Megalodon, it hit our ship and killed the guy that was with us.
Poor,
So
that poor guy.
when you die, you get put back on your ship.
Yeah.
So his ship, we
Was
left
like
his
all
ship
the
at
way
the
across
outpost,
all the way across. The
and so he, ended up just being the 4 of us fighting this megalodon shark instead of 5. So it made it a little bit more difficult.
Because we couldn't take a second boat, because then that boat would be getting damaged too, and there wouldn't be enough people to repair both boats.
Yeah.
So essentially, you're kind of screwed. And to summon the shark, all 5 people have to be playing the shanty on the same boat.
Yeah.
So they're already requiring you to have one additional person more than what you're allowed to have, and it would be okay if you could summon in, if you were allowed to invite your friends into the same game world that you're in, even if they're on another boat. But once you have 4 people in, you can't invite anyone else to your game world, which again is another problem that Rare needs to really look into. You need to be able to get to join your friend's game world, even if you can't join their boat.
I would really like them to add a feature where you can create armadas. I think that would be a really, really cool feature. So that way, not only can you add your friends onto your server onto another ship, but you can also. But if you do come across, because it happens from time to time where you come across a friendly crew, but it would be cool to invite that friendly crew that you just met into say an armada system, so that you guys can all travel together. And
Under the same colors.
Yeah, exactly. Because they added flags now, so you can do that.
Commodore.
Yeah, so I feel like that would be a really, really cool addition, and like Mr. Psycho said, it would help out with these kind of encounters where Rare's kind of requiring you to get along with these other ships. Now, I kind of disagree with you a little bit in that I think it's a good thing that they're doing this, especially for that first week. But like you said, I kind of agree with you as well that after that kind of hype has died down, and less people are doing it, it is gonna revert back to kind of how it was before, with every man for himself and all that stuff. So it is gonna be, so for those people that are coming in late, trying to do the content late, it's gonna be tougher for them, because people that have already done it are not gonna want to do it again because you've already gotten the rewards for it.
Well, I mean, and we see that issue right now. So we have 2 friends who play on Xbox Live a lot, who have not been able to do the encounter because they can't get anyone to help them. There's only 2 of them, right? And their schedules don't line up with everyone else's schedule, so I would help because I enjoy fighting the Megalodon. It's a really cool thing.
It is a really fun
that you can't, in my opinion, you can't find that sort of encounter in any other game. Like, you're fighting something right out of Legend, and of course liberties were taken. Megalodons didn't have 4 eyes and so on and so forth, but the idea behind it in the encounter is really well executed, and it's very fun.
Playing the shanty to the fight, it's like a war cry or something.
Yeah.
It's so cool, man. That's one of the coolest things that they did, is that you have to play this shanty from one island all the way almost across the map to this, just to summon him, and then once you summon him, it starts this kind of darker version of the shanty. It's really, really cool. It's a really cool encounter.
And one complaint that I have about this encounter is that it's really cool when you beat him and then you get the rewards for beating him the first time. And I don't know if we should say what the rewards are here, if we should let people find out, because I think it's really cool.
It's the internet. People already know.
Yeah, so I mean, you get a really cool shark bite scar for your character. You get shark tattoos, and then the most awesome thing you get is the Megalodon figurehead for your galleon or sloop, and it looks incredible. It's really, really fantastically done.
That's a big ass head.
For those of you that have not played it yet, and you've seen the shark set that's available to buy from the shipwright, don't waste your 70,000 gold on the regular shark head. Just do the Megalodon quest and get that one, because it's much, much better.
Yeah.
But my complaint is, you got to put something in there for the people that are helping the other people, because once you've gotten that stuff, you get nothing. The story tells us that this
That's what it looks like.
that this shark, this Megalodon, has been terrorizing the seas for ages, and
Looks
he's
really weird.
He's eaten boats, he's eaten crews. So I think an easy way to do this, I think an easy way to fix this is make him kind of like a skull fort. It takes so long to beat him that once you kill him, some treasure chests should just rise to the surface and he's eaten.
Yeah.
right? Because
That's a good idea.
we've read in the journals in the story when we're doing the clues that he's eaten entire ships. So to give someone an incentive to help people that haven't done it, when you kill the shark, some treasure chests should pop up. It's like, oh, hey, we just spent 35, 45 minutes beating the shark because that's about what it took us last night. That's about the amount of time it takes to do a skeleton fort. Now, again, you're not going to give us 30 chests and all this other stuff, but, maybe a special Megalodon chest.
Yeah.
Like you get the skull fort chest or the skull fort skull or whatever it is when you beat the skeleton forts. Like,
Stronghold skull.
give us the stronghold skull and the stronghold chest. Why not a Megalodon chest or a Megalodon something or other that we can sell?
I guess they probably do that just so it prevents people from like farming, but you could always put like a cooldown or something like that.
Yeah.
So that you can only do it like once a day or something like that. I agree with you. I think there needs to be more incentive for people who have already done it to do it again.
Because if they want us to work together,
yeah,
then they need to give us a reason to do it.
Yeah, and I think that would be an excellent way to do it. So hopefully, Rare, if you're listening, hopefully you can implement that idea because that would be a very, very awesome idea. So.
But again, I have no qualms in recommending Sea of Thieves to anybody. I've already recommended it to a lot of people. Most people are still under the impression that it's a glorified beta. Glorified beta or not, it's still really fun to play when you have friends. And now that you can have closed crew galleons so random people can't join, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Just getting out there with your friends, exploring, being pirates, it's a hell of an experience.
And I'm very excited to see what Rare has for the future of the game as well.
So now we're going to get to the E3 focus of our show. So E3 is on its way. It starts
next week.
It starts, was it June
next
7th or 8th or something like that?
Next Wednesday or Thursday.
And we're probably going to get a lot of announcements. There have been leaks or supposed leaks over the last few weeks. And many of those, there was a Walmart listing that listed a bunch of games that everybody's like, oh, this is fake. But so far, a lot of the games that were listed on that listing have been confirmed to be real. So there's a good chance we're going to see a lot of those games at E3 in some form or another. Right? Whether they're coming out soon is another story. But this is a great time of the year for people that love video games because you get to see what you're waiting for. I'm expecting a big show from Microsoft this year. They know they have to make up ground. And I'm expecting a big show from Nintendo and their Nintendo Direct, even though we all know the focus is going to be the next Smash Brothers game.
Yeah.
So, Nintendo's last year, their one game at E3 was Mario. The year before that, their one game was Breath of the Wild. Right, and both of those games were phenomenal. This year, Nintendo's already announced their one game is Smash Brothers. And they've said that Smash Brothers will come out before the end of 2018. My personal prediction is we're going to get Smash Brothers day and date of Nintendo's online service, because if you're going to launch a paid online service, you got to have a flagship title. What better way to get people to pay that $20 for the year than to launch with Smash Brothers? It's probably their number one best-selling game for any of their consoles. It's got to happen. I mean, I'm saying we're going to get Smash Brothers in September when the online service launches. So, I mean, what else is everyone excited for at E3? What do you know that's going to be there that you're excited about?
Fallout 76. They showed the trailer a couple days ago, and I'm interested to see what Bethesda has to say about it because of all the rumors floating around the internet.
Yeah, there were a lot of leaks that came out in regards to. Apparently, Fallout 76 was actually leaked a few months ago, like full title and all.
But people thought it was fake.
Yeah, it was on a post on I think it was 4chan actually, and then there was a Reddit. Well, there was also a Reddit post a couple of weeks ago saying that Bethesda is very close to announcing this game, Fallout 76, and the Reddit post had even more detail about the game, saying that it's going to be... Now, the whole problem now is that there's conflicting reports, is that some people are saying it's going to be like a building game.
Some people are saying core RPG.
Yeah.
Some people saying online
survival RPG. Like, there's a bunch of different... So we don't really know. And not Rare, I'm sorry. Bethesda has been tweeting about these leaks and saying everybody's wrong. Like no one knows what this game is. So we're just waiting to see. I'm sure we're going to see what the game is actually like come E3.
I'm hoping it is a core RPG because it's set. The Vault 76 is supposed to be set 20 years after
the
bombs drop.
Yeah.
All of the other games have been 200 years
Close
after.
to 100 years. I think Fallout 3 was about 100 years after. And then Fallout 4 took place, I think, about 20 years after Fallout 3.
So all of them have had some distance from the Great War. This is immediately after.
Yeah.
So what some of the leaks are talking about are, you're still going to have core services, military personnel, cops, things from the original world as part of this game.
Yeah,
so it's going to be very interesting to see.
We're going to see early Brotherhood of Steel and all that stuff. So Enforcer and I are very, very big fans of the franchise. So we hope.
So are there any deal breakers for either of you? Because I've read a lot online that people say if it's an online survival game, they're done. They're not going to play it. They're not going to waste time.
If it's an online only survival game, I mean, I'll play it, but it just won't feel like Fallout game to me. A deal breaker for me would definitely be if it's only like a building game, like
base building 101. Build your vaults.
If I want to play a base building Fallout game, I'll just play Fallout Shelter.
Yeah.
There's no reason to come out with a full game on consoles and PC just for that. Like, it doesn't make any sense for me. So like I said, I mean, if it's an online survival RPG, yeah, I'll play, but we'll have to see how the game is. I'm really curious to see what Bethesda has up their sleeve with this game.
What about you, Enforcer?
I'm not a fan of the online Rage, Elder Scrolls Online type of game, so for me, I would pass on it at that point. I'd probably watch some Let's Plays and that type of thing, but for the most part, I wouldn't.
I would definitely be wary. I would wait for the reviews. Yeah, 100%.
Well, I mean, wouldn't that be a game like what you're playing now with State of Decay 2?
No, I like base building games. Base building games I'm fine with. Survival RPGs, like that's, I'm not too big on having to, constantly make sure that, I've got this going and I've got that going. Like the game that I'm playing State of Decay 2 right now. That you have to keep your supplies up and things like that, but that's basically all that game is. Yeah. A base building game, I mean, you're building up your defenses for whatever's outside there. The game I'm playing now, you're not really doing that.
I don't know. Well, I'm just curious to see what they're going to have for that. So we'll see. As far as games at E3 that I want to see, number one on my list 100% is going to be Mortal Kombat 11. I know Ed Boon has been tweeting a lot, like he always is. He's a huge troll on Twitter. So he's like one of the biggest trolls on Twitter ever. So we'll see. I'm very, very hopeful. I know a lot of leaks have said that Mortal Kombat 11 is going to get announced very soon, possibly before E3. And then we'll see a gameplay trailer, much like we did for Mortal Kombat X, where they showed the gameplay of it at E3 during the Sony press during the Sony press conference.
So what do you want in a Mortal Kombat 11, right? Like, do you want them to kill off more of the original characters and go further into the future?
Well, I mean,
like they did with X, or what do you want?
Well, we know that it's going to have a very robust single player / story, like they always do. NetherRealm Studios is very much known for their excellent storytelling when it comes to fighting games. They probably have the best story mode of any fighting game ever.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you look at the Injustice games, like their stories are fantastic. If the graphics look anything like Injustice 2, I'll be very happy, because Injustice 2 is one of the prettiest fighting games out there, probably the best looking fighting game out there in my opinion. And I'm sure it's going to be using the same kind of engine. As far as comparisons to, say, Mortal Kombat X, I liked the variation system, but I would like it if they return back to how it was kind of in Mortal Kombat 2011, where you just had your character and that was it. More that traditional kind of fighting game aspect. So It was nice having the variation system, but the problem with the variation system is that there was always one variation that was better than the other two, and that was basically what the meta became, was just everybody picked the best variation, and that was it. Now, there were certain characters that were completely different, each variation, like, for example, Triborg, where you had Sector, Cyrax, Smoke, and Cyber Sub-Zero. They were all their own character, but they were basically variations of the same character. So, but they were essentially all different. So, but yeah, I would like to see them kind of return back to the traditional aspect. I would like it to see 2D. I don't want, please, for the love of God, NRS, do not do 3D. Okay, please. Nobody wants a 3D MK. All right, you guys already did your experiments.
What's wrong with Mortal Kombat 4?
It wasn't so much Mortal Kombat 4 as it was like the other ones after that. So, I mean, Deception was good. It was fun, but it wasn't a competitive fighting game.
It was entertaining.
It was an entertaining, fun game, just like all the other ones, but they weren't legitimate fighting games. So,
yeah.
Especially Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, which was just abysmally bad.
Well, I know that you are a hardcore Mortal Kombat fan. And all of us in here, including Wheezy, grew up playing Mortal Kombat. I mean, it was a huge deal when we were kids. It was a game changer, literally. And as a fan, I've purchased every version of Mortal Kombat available to me on my system of choice. Right? So, Super Nintendo, I had Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. On the N64, I had Mortal Kombat 4. I had Mortal Kombat, whatever the hell they called the one after that was all of the characters that had ever been created.
Armageddon.
No, that was for the Wii. It was Armageddon was for the Wii. I'm talking about on the N64. There were 2 Mortal Kombat
trilogy.
games. No, not trilogy. One of them was Mortal Kombat 4, which was 3D. But one of them was the 2D games, but every single fighter that had ever appeared.
That's Mortal Kombat Trilogy.
I don't think it was called that. Maybe it was. But whatever.
Yeah, it was Trilogy.
The thing that bothered me most about MK11 was...
MKX?
Yeah, MKX was that it took away characters I actually cared about that I'd been following for a long time, and it didn't really explain it. Like, it was a very... For instance, I'm not a Baraka fan. I know that's your character. I used him occasionally, but the fact that he wasn't in Mortal Kombat X bothered me.
Yeah. Well, it bothered me too, but he was killed in the story, so...
Yeah, but...
And he was replaced by...
An alien.
Which is amazing.
Well, that wasn't really canon, but...
Yeah.
I don't care.
I mean...
I know you don't care.
But for me, the thing is, yeah, he was killed in the story, but it was such a quick... kind of shitty death.
It was a really shitty death for an iconic character.
It felt like disrespecting a character.
Yeah, trust me, I of all people know how disrespectful it felt. So
I also didn't like that a lot of the characters that you expect to be there were now like shadow characters because of what happened in Mortal Kombat 9. Right, and how Raiden made that choice, and now Liu Kang is bad, and Kung Lao is bad, and Katana is bad, and all these... Like, in Mortal Kombat Deception, when they killed Liu Kang, the opening movie is, Liu Kang is dead, and they break his neck, right?
Well, I think that was Deadly Alliance.
Yeah, no, you're right, that was Deadly Alliance.
When he plays zombie Liu Kang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you could play as him. He was like a hidden character, and then you unlocked him. And he had like chains and stuff.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, no, but I mean, the character was there, and there was a reason for him to be different. Now, what do they call them? Revenants or whatever?
Yeah.
In MKX, it's kind of like...
Quan Chi, yes.
It's like, why? Like, what is the purpose of this? If you're gonna do that, then...
I kind of agree.
And some of the new characters they put in were great. I thought Cassie Cage was awesome. She was a fun character. I mained her when I played.
Fucking cool. So.
Jax's daughter, I don't...
Jackie. Yeah.
Take it or leave it,
Whatever.
right? It wasn't a big deal. The bug character, the new bug character, it was meh.
But
like,
Cassie was awesome.
A lot of the characers were meh. Kotal Khan was good.
Kotal Khan was cool, yeah.
The alien was great.
Yeah. No, not a canon.
Okay, I will agree that having fighting with Alien and Jason against each other was probably one of the coolest aspects of Mortal Kombat X for sure.
It is a lot of fun.
Yeah, or having like Cyrax against Predator, that was pretty.
Oh, it was great.
The only thing that was really missing in Mortal Kombat X, I'll give it to them, was they should have went back and brought Freddy Krueger in. I mean, at that point,
I agree.
You had Leatherface, you had
Jason.
Like, where's Freddy Krueger?
Yeah, you could.
There's no reason.
Like a bonus deal.
Yeah,
or something like
They should have just put them in. People would have paid $3 for them. Here you go, right?
And they already had
you
everything for them from the previous game.
Yeah.
There was really no reason to leave them out. And I think every year Mortal Kombat, or every iteration, Mortal Kombat kind of misses something that seems like so obvious, and then we don't really talk about it because the game's fun.
Yeah.
To be honest, I just want them, the studio, just to make a horror-esque game.
Well, that was like a big rumor is that they might be working on that. So
That'd be amazing.
yeah, just with all like iconic horror movie characters in a fighting game, like you get Pinhead versus Chucky or
I don't know about Chucky. That'd be weird. But like put Ash Williams in it, like it'd be.
oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it'd be great.
Get Pennywise.
Pennywise, yeah, Pumpkinhead and all that stuff.
But I mean, it'd be cool for a Mortal Kombat 11 announcement. I'm hoping for Gears 5. I mean, it was one of the games listed on Walmart's leak. I love the Gears games. I spent a lot of time playing them. I've played them
fucking run
multiple times. You roadie run. It's the same thing.
No, you can't fucking run, stupid.
But it's
I'm crouched down and run like an asshole.
I want to see where this game takes us. The ending of Gears 4 was such a huge cliffhanger, and if you're a fan of the games, you knew it was going to happen. Like, you just got that feeling something was going on. I want to see where they take it. I want to see what the next version is, because Gears 2 like really upped it from Gears 1, and Gears 3 took it another step further, and I'm hoping that Gears 5 does the same thing for Gears 4. But if we get a Gears 5, I'd also like to return to 3 or 4 man co-op. I mean, that was my biggest complaint with Gears 4 was most of the sections you're traveling with at least 3 people, and in a lot of the game you're traveling with 4. So if you're always going to have at least 3, then why not let you 3-person co-op it? Like, it made no sense that you could only have 2 people playing when you had 3 people there, and for a lot of the game you had 4 people there. So hopefully that's something that the Coalition has heard from the fans, and they're working on it. They wanted to return it to the horror roots of the first game, but to be honest, I don't think those games were ever scary. I don't think they were meant to be scary. I think the reason the first one was a little horrifying was because of what happened, not what was going on in the game. So you have a world that was completely devastated, and in an attempt to kill their enemy, they almost kill themselves completely. You have an enemy that can pop up anywhere, that looks hideous and monstrous, and that makes the game terrifying. It has nothing to do with only having one friend with you. It's not diminished at all in that aspect. I really want to see that, and they got to do something about Crackdown 3. Either put the game out or tell us you've canceled it, because this
Always
is
Crackdown
enough.
3.
Enough is enough, right? Enough is enough.
You will never get off that game, and the and the little teaser with Terry Crews they had.
Like, all right, Crackdown was fun.
Yes,
but it really wasn't that good of a game.
No, but Crackdown 2 was way more fun because you had 4 people that could play.
I mean, I always
still, it was never. I never thought it was, like I said, it was dumb fun just to go and blow shit up and do that. But I just never found it to be like just such an amazing game.
Yeah,
it
was
missed
like,
me
I
on
mean,
that.
how many games are amazing? Like, you love the Saints Row games. Those games were fun, but they're not amazing.
Never
like
said
Saints Row
they were
1
a lot
was
of fun.
Saints Row 1 was very meh.
You have
to be honest.
I highly disagree.
Saints Row 1 was very
I don't
meh.
think I played Saints Row 1.
It was it was essentially a clone of GTA
No, it was
3.
not.
Yes, it was. Saints Row 1 was essentially a clone of GTA 3, and it was all, hey, let's see how far we can take this stuff. And then every game after that was, how crazy can we go before people are like, what the actual fuck?
And
I
nobody ever
think
did.
they stopped.
And then-
I think they stopped at a gang taking over the presidency.
Yeah, and then, like, the world being blown up in Saints Row 4.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, not only are you president, and Saints Row 4 opens as your president somehow, but then an alien comes down, you piss him off, he blows up the entire world, and you spend the rest of the game, like, trying to bring the world back because you're, like, this super spy now, even though you were just a shitty gangbanger. Like, Saints Row 3 was like, alright, Saints Row 1, kind of grounded in reality. Saints Row 2, meh.
That's when I got into it. Saints Row
Saints Row
2.
2 was still grounded in reality.
Saints Row 2,
For the most
somewhat,
part,
for the most part, right? But then Saints Row 3...
Saints Row 3
Saints Row 3 is like, let's make this game over the top so that people really just have as much fun as they want. And then Saints Row 4 essentially was like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay,
You thought Saints Row 3 was crazy.
Let me show you everything that we can do that GTA can't do.
Isn't Saints Row 4 like part of it where you start getting like into video games inside the game?
No, that was
That was Saints Row 3.
That was 3, yeah.
And then it does happen a little in Saints Row 4, but Saints Row 3 was like that.
That shit pissed me off. I got bored of that.
Yeah. And then Saints Row 4, you had superpowers. You're inside a computer simulation, and now
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay.
you have superpowers. You fly around. You jump high.
You just
Yeah, I didn't like that.
destroy
Basically
things in
basically
one punch.
Crackdown.
Yeah, that's the one thing about it, where you're like inside a computer game and like
It's
this
essentially
is,
Crackdown.
Because they had like then they
Yeah,
end up doing
you
like
still have to
time
jump around and
travel.
find all the pieces like you did in Crackdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of that.
But
Saints
it's
Row 4.
and again, every game has its niche, right? And I like Saints Row, and I played them, right? I played all of them, and I like Crackdown. Crackdown 1 to me was a lot of fun. Being the good guy, and you can do things whatever you want to do, and as you progress, your character gets stronger, more abilities unlock, you're able to do things. And the game, for what it was, just a simple kind of explore the city, open sandbox, superpowers, was great. Crackdown 2 was like, okay, you could have one friend, but now we're going to give you essentially 2 different games in one game with 4 people. So during the day, you're going to fight these gangs, you're going to take the city back, you're going to do all these things, and at night, the world is just infested with zombies. Sorry. Like, there are zombies and mutants everywhere, and at night you have to go down underground into their hole, and you got to try to kill all of them and stop the infection from spreading. And it was essentially 2 different games in one, but the system, the moves, the things you could do was awesome. And then for Crackdown 3 a couple of years ago, they showed this teaser at E3 where, hey, guess what? You can blow everything up. The world is completely destructible. Everything that you want to do, you can do. And you can have 16 people in here doing it with you. So there are going to be 16 agents destroying the city. The gangs are going to be harder than they've ever been. The bosses are going to be harder than they've ever been. And you're going to have to find ways to do this. So some of you are going to drive fuel tankers into the bottom of a building to knock it down and blah, 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 blah. But that was back when the head of Xbox was like, guess what? Your system has to be online all the time. It can never be disconnected. And this is how the future of gaming is going to be. It didn't work out that way. Right? And they got a new studio head. You have the new person in charge of Microsoft's Xbox division. And he's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. So they're like, oh, well, this really puts a knock in what we're trying to do, because now the system's not powerful to do that without constantly being connected to the internet. I don't know what we're going to do. And it was supposed to release this past November when the Xbox One X released. It was going to be a launch title for it. But when they started putting the videos out at E3, and then after that, people were like, this looks exactly like Crackdown 2. And it's been 7 years, right? Why does the game look exactly the same? Yeah, you got Terry Crews, fantastic, right? That's great. But why does the game look the same as the other game 7 years later, 8 years later?
And why is not everything destructible?
Yeah, so then Microsoft's like, okay, well, we're delaying it, and then we never got anything else about it. And that was November.
Well, no, they delayed it till March,
It's probably for the better.
and then it got delayed again. It got
I
got delayed
I
till
thought it
my,
officially got canceled.
No, it did not get canceled.
No, it got delayed to around my birthday, because I remember I was like, man, it's all right. So now it's going to come out around my birthday, and then they're like, we're delaying it again, and they haven't announced the release date.
So
it's
it's
like,
TBD, basically.
yeah, so this is TBD.
So at E3, they either have to say, listen, it's canceled, and that's it, or they're going to have to show us something and have a definitive release date that they stick to. Because at this point, so few people actually care about the game. This is a franchise that Microsoft is about to kill if they don't figure something out.
Because
And it's not something they can afford to kill. They
Microsoft is already hurting as it is when it comes to first party titles, and I feel like Crackdown will be a very good title for them to kind of like rebound from that with. along with the announcement of, say, like a Gears 5 and maybe even like a Halo 5 or something like that.
Wasn't there already Halo
Or
5?
Halo
6.
Halo 6, I'm sorry. Yeah, so a Halo 6 or something like that.
Yeah, and we're gonna get a Halo announcement because it's been 2 or 3 years since
been
Halo
a while,
5.
yeah. And and they had the Master Chief Collection and all that stuff. So it's probably about around that time that we might get another Halo title. So let's talk about Red Dead.
Okay, it won't be at E3 because
we know it's not gonna
Rockstar
be
is
there.
never at E3.
Yeah. So
it's disappointing that it's not releasing this summer.
But don't they often do like their own thing during E3?
No, not during E3.
They normally do it before or after, but they're never at E3, and very rarely do they allow their games to be shown in video packages by Sony and Microsoft.
No, I thought they like during E3, not there, but like during like their own location, do like a press thing or showing off.
No.
Well, they don't like to do that for some reason. They should.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is I feel like they really need to do something for E3. I feel like, especially with all the controversy that was surrounding GTA 5 and GTA Online, I feel like really going to where the spotlight is and showing people, hey, look, we're doing this for E3. I feel like it'd be something special, and then showing off maybe the gameplay, some of the story aspects, something like that. I don't know. I feel like they should have some kind of presence at E3, especially if their game's coming out this year.
Agreed.
So that's just it. Just really irritates me that Rockstar has this stance of we're never at E3 because we're super cool. We don't want to be part of the same thing when you're still part of the community, just as every other game and every other developer. I don't understand why you think you're so high and mighty that you can't come to this one event that everyone else is at. It just doesn't make any sense. So it really, really bothers the crap out of me.
But Red Dead 2 looks good. I'm glad that they showed John Marston. My biggest concern is, and this is probably a very unpopular opinion, but I don't want there to be 7 different playable characters. Right? Yes, I get it. You're part of a gang in Red Dead 2, but I very much disliked playing as 3 different characters in the GTA 5 campaign. I liked having one character that I could attach to and go through the world with and do all these things. And for me, at least, having the 3 that I was forced to switch between bothered me because it took me out of the story of the one character. It detached me from that character, and then I was trying to build an attachment with a new character, and then I have to switch to another one. I don't want to have to switch between 7 different gang members.
What if it's 7 different characters, but you play as one character throughout the entire playthrough? You have to play the game 7 different times.
No, fuck that.
I don't like that.
7 different stories. Well, no, like 7 different stories.
I want the main character, and then the only other character I'm comfortable playing as is John Marston, because I already have. That's it.
Yeah.
You want to show me how John Marston gets caught? And,
I mean,
you're already attached to that character, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like GTA 5 would have been a much more enjoyable experience if you could just pick one character from the get-go and then have that be your story or something along those lines.
Yeah, that's basically.
Yeah, but I feel like that's fine. But I feel like 7 times is a little bit too much.
I think 2 or 3 would be fine.
2 or 3 is fine, but 7 is like, well, that's a lot. So.
I mean, you played GTA 5, Weezy. What did you think about having to switch characters? That
It
bothered
annoyed
you
the
at
hell
all?
out of me. After a while, it just got boring. Just keep switching over, trying to remember where you left off in certain mission, story. And, I would much rather just be one character all the way through.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, I agree. I don't know if it was boring, but it definitely felt more like just,
or
it
like,
was just annoying.
It
like,
was tedious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you could do it like they did with Batman. I believe even in GTA 4 they did it the same way. You have the one character you're going through, but then you have DLCs that come out.
Yes.
DLC you could play as Harley Quinn or play as the Big Gay Tony or whatever the hell it was that was in GTA 4.
GTA 5 would have been so much more interesting if you only played as Travis the entire game.
Trevor.
Or Trevor, I'm sorry. If you only played as Trevor.
If you only played as Trevor the entire game, I wouldn't have played it. After the
You
beginning,
never would have played it.
Trevor's the character I like least. He
Really?
annoys the shit out of me. He's not a nuanced character. Trevor, to me, is like the character is like, oh, let's pick the biggest douche we can think of. Like, the person you picture just like a raging jackass to be, and that's who it's. There's no nuance in that character. What's his motivation? He has none. He's hoping that eventually his buddy will get out of jail, but he only mentions him in passing. There's no actual emotional connection. It's like, oh, so and so is in jail, but I'm gonna kill all these people and murder all these people. I'm not gonna go visit so and so in jail. I'm not going to try to break so and so out of jail. I'm not going to steal and kill and do all these things to make money to get so and so better lawyers to get him out of jail. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, so and so is actually dead and not in jail. Well, shit. Now I'm pissed off, even though you haven't heard from so and so in 20 friggin' years, right? There's no nuance in that character. There's no reason to care about Trevor at all. He's an idiot. He's a throwaway character. If you pulled him out of GTA 5, what would the game miss? Nothing.
I like the character. So,
in my opinion, the best character in the game is either Franklin or Michael, depending on the story you want to tell. Right? I think that Michael would be an interesting story just because Franklin's character and character arc is essentially the exact same as Nico from GTA 4. Right? Nico was an immigrant coming here trying to make a name for himself, trying to get stuff. Franklin's not an immigrant, but he's trying to make a name for himself and get out of where he is to have something better. I think focusing the story on Michael would have been interesting because you have a guy in his 50s, right? Retired criminal, was trying to live right, dealing with family problems. I think that would have been a completely different video game protagonist than any others. Because here you have this guy who can't do much anymore, right? He can still shoot decently, but he's not running around. He gets winded easily. He's not as hip and up on things. I don't know. I felt Franklin was essentially Nico with a new skin, and Trevor was just kind of there. So I don't want them to do that to Red Dead 2. And the thing that worries me most about Red Dead 2 is Red Dead Online.
Yeah, that's the same.
Because when GTA 5's online launched, it was a good idea, it was a good premise. But then they started to realize they could get people to pay for stuff. They raised the price of things in the game to where it's super expensive. They lowered the amount of money you could earn to where you essentially had to play the game for 12 hours a day to earn anything. The thing that frustrated me the most is when the game first launched on the 360, there were animals in it. Right? Essentially, they just copied all the animals from Red Dead, and then they put them in GTA 5, but then the game was having issues. They're like, oh, it's the animals. We got to take them all out. And when they announced GTA 5 on next-gen consoles, so Xbox One, PS4, they're like, oh, we're going to put all the animals back in, and to show you, here's a cat in the world. But then they took and never put the animals in. Right? So, I don't know what they're going to do. I want Red Dead to be good. I'm just concerned for it. I'm very concerned. I don't think Rockstar knows what they want to do anymore.
They just care about making money.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the issue. They had all these things planned for GTA 5 that they just threw away. They had the voice cast come in and record things that were going to be DLC, and actually went through the process of recording it. We're never going to hear it. We're never going to see it. There's never going to be anything else. Because they realized we can make money doing nothing with GTA 5 Online.
Yeah.
So, this podcast is getting kind of long. I'd like to end just talking about a game that we hope is announced, but probably won't be announced. So I'm going to start off. And the game I would love to be announced, but most likely is not ever going to be announced, is Metroid Prime Trilogy on the Switch. Last year at E3, we got a brief teaser with music in space and then a logo Metroid Prime 4. The last Metroid Prime game, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, was released in 2007. So when Metroid Prime 4 is released in 2019, it will be 12 years since the last Metroid game on a home console. 12 years is a long time in video games. There are a lot of people who have no idea what Metroid is. And I think it's a perfect opportunity for Nintendo to package those first 3 Metroid Prime games, put them out on the Switch and say, here's what you can look forward to. Obviously, they're not going to give it a reduced price because this is Nintendo and they don't do that. They'll market it as 3 full games for $60. Maybe they'll remaster them a little bit so that they look a little bit better, more HD. Who knows? But I think that it would be a great thing. Have it come out this November, right? And then it gives people a year to play these games so they know what the hell is going on in Metroid Prime 4. Because clearly, it's a continuation, or they wouldn't call it Metroid Prime 4. They would just call it Metroid whatever new version. I'd love it. I love the first Metroid Prime game. In my opinion, it was one of the games of that generation, the GameCube, Xbox, and PS2 generations. It was right up there for me. So hopefully we get it, but it's not going to happen.
Mine, obviously, I have very strong feelings about Saints Row. I was a huge fan of the first Saints Row game. Unlike some people's opinions, it was not just a strict GTA clone.
I didn't say it was a strict clone. I said it was a clone.
No,
It had very fun online.
Yeah, I love the story of the first Saints Row game, and a little bit of the second Saints Row game. Second Saints Row game kind of got away from what that first one was about, because they dropped major storylines from the first game. They were just like, whatever, we're just not even going to talk about this anymore, and they just started going on their own way. I felt like that series could have been a really good dramatic series, and they just were like, because like the first game had a lot of very dramatic themes to it. The second game had a couple of scenes where it's just like, you're like, what the hell just happened? Like, characters dying and things like that. You're just like, why? What the, So Saints Row, a Saints Row reboot, or a Saints Row, I guess proper sequel would be very, very cool.
They can't do a sequel unless they say part 3 and 4 never.
That's what, no, I'm saying a proper sequel even from the second one, like a proper like just the 2, 3, 4,
3 and 4
gone.
were just.
They are now Legends Universe.
3 and 4 was just
it was all a dream.
It was just Johnny Gat's dream.
Yeah, it was Johnny Gat dreaming.
It's just Johnny Gat dreaming. That's it.
Yeah, but that whole thing, that's what I would definitely want.
I'd play it.
Yeah. For me, I had to think about it for a little bit, but then I was just like, okay, yeah, that. So I would probably say a new Dark Souls game. Especially after Dark Souls Remastered just came out. It's very hugely popular. The first Dark Souls came out about 7 years ago as well. It came out a while ago. That wasn't 7 years. It's more like 5. And then Demon Souls came out the year before. But it kind of introduced everyone to the original Dark Souls and how difficult it is. But From Software has already said that they're not going to release a sequel to Dark Souls 3. But I don't know. I really enjoy Dark Souls, the Dark Souls franchise. I think it's a really, really fun game. It's very challenging. It's one of the most challenging gaming experiences you can do. In all honesty, it's very, very tough, but it's very fun. And the combat system and everything is a lot of fun as well. But yeah, I would say probably a new Dark Souls game for me.
No, I really want a new Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. You laugh. That game was great. It was Super Nintendo. And
I'm not disagreeing with you. But yeah, I mean, I actually kind of would agree. But especially since how popular the Turtles were in Injustice. But
exactly, there's no reason they couldn't do it.
If we were going to get a Ninja Turtles game, I would love Rocksteady to do a Ninja Turtles game that you could choose your turtle, or people could join your game, and you could have 4-player co-op doing stories. Like, clearly, things would get harder in the game when more people join, just like in Borderlands. Every time someone joins, the game gets a little more difficult. But it'd be awesome to have a game like
a full New York
Arkham City. Ninja Turtles.
That would be great. A full story like that for Ninja Turtles would be amazing, especially if you take like the Arkham style.
Yeah,
because Arkham games are awesome,
and with the amount of characters that there are.
Yeah,
I don't know how you
do a whole expanded universe
with the 4 main turtles. You have to swap around back and forth.
Well, yeah, you could swap them whenever you wanted to, or you could have your friends join the game.
then I have to buy online. See, I'm being selfish. I don't want to buy online again. I'm done with the online stuff. It would make me have to buy
until they announce that Ninja Turtle game.
Yeah.
But I think a tournament fighter, though, Tournament Fighter would be really badass.
Yeah, just with all the characters they have now.
Especially with how well they are doing fighting games recently with the Mortal Kombat and Injustice.
So if you could pick a studio to do that game, who would you pick?
If it was like a tournament fighter,
Yeah.
it would be NetherRealm or whatever.
Probably NetherRealm,
yeah, definitely for a tournament fighter.
I mean, look, if you just look at the character designs just for the Turtles and Injustice, like they're fantastic.
Now, if it was going to be open world and all that, it'd be this whoever I don't know who did it, but whoever did
I would agree with
Batman.
That. Yeah, Rocksteady.
No, E3 swerve. NetherRealm's like, yeah, I know you're expecting Mortal Kombat 11. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, everybody.
I would call Wheezy right away and be like, "Do you hear what just happened?" And I would just send him the link. And
I'll have no idea because I won't be paying attention to E3 at all.
Wheezy secretly works for NetherRealm. He
He
knows
everybody.
something that we don't.
That would be great because there's so many characters they could do.
Not only is there a Turtles game, but there's going to be a horror fighting game.
I'd be done.
Wheezy's favorite game is Ninja Turtle Smash Up on the Wii.
God. Oh,
No,
good
I'm
Lord.
I mean, I really wish, I wish that a lot of my favorite franchises would get the respect game wise that a lot of these games are getting these days.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to have an Alien or Predator game done by Rocksteady because that'd be great. They did such a great job with Batman.
You know what game
They could do an open world Predator. That would be amazing.
You know what game I was surprised you didn't say because I enjoyed watching you play it all those years ago. I had no desire to play it myself, but I enjoyed watching you play was that Predator game, which was kind of open world, where you went around.
Was it Predator or something Hunt?
Concrete Jungle.
Oh, Concrete Jungle, yeah.
Yeah, like that game was fun to watch.
It was.
I wouldn't buy it.
It was fun
I have
to
no
play.
desire to play it, but I enjoyed watching it.
You know that game has a history with me, and I let somebody borrow it, and they never returned it, and it haunts me to this day that I don't have it anymore.
It wasn't me.
No, it was a friend that I used to work with. It's like I don't have it in my collection. I don't have it.
Yeah.
And Xbox didn't make it backwards compatible, so I can't buy a new one to play it. So I'd like it. But like I said, if Rocksteady did one, I'd be down for that. That'd be great.
I really would like kind of adding to that, but I would really like it's like a Predator just first person game. Just kind of like
a good one.
Well, kind of like how Alien, because Alien versus Predator was good.
It just got repetitive real quick.
The online was really fun though.
Oh yeah, if you got people who actually played.
Yeah,
not many people bought the game.
Yeah, that's true. But for what it was a really fun game.
Is that the game that came with the facehugger?
Yeah,
I think so.
I had that game for a little while.
It was fun, but I really want just a first person full.
But could you imagine
Predator
take the Batman games and when you're doing the stealth missions where you're up and you're going into the modes or you're trying to see have that but with Predator?
With Predator,
that'd be awesome.
Amazing.
Views and
I mean, it would be amazing, but it would also get repetitive because how do you beat Batman? They could see Batman, right? What are the Predator cloaks.
Right.
So whenever Batman would take someone down, they'd know exactly where he was. You'd have to jump around a lot. The Predator would just sit in one spot, cloaked, shooting his laser at people's head. At that point, what happened?
That was one of my least favorite aspects of the Batman games. Is the Predator mode. Is that how could you not see Batman just sitting up there after he took down one of your boys? And you're like, where is he?
He's just looking at you like
there. I'm there's no shadow. There's no shadow.
He's just sitting there staring at
you. You don't see the difference between one gargoyle and another. There's a huge bat on it. How could you not see me?
But like you put Predator, if you put him in a world like in Arkham, have actual gangs, not just civilians. That'd be stupid because they can't do anything to a Predator.
Yeah.
They have gangs and they have the military there also, Marines. Yeah. It could be a really badass game.
Yeah, have a big open world type of game.
And they would do something where you can only be in stealth mode until it uncharges. You have to recharge it back up, or just so you don't overabuse, just walk around invisible.
Well, yeah, but then that would suck if they took your abilities away from you. Because what about the people that want to play with the Predator and stealth all the time?
You earn it.
I don't know. And then when you're getting at the end. it would be an awesome Easter egg. Every time you die as the predator, like every time they kill you, instead of them killing you, you blow yourself up.
You blow up the whole city, and when you come back later, there's just a big crater where you blew up recently.
They corner you, and you're like, shit. And then instead of you dying, you're just like, all right, I've had enough of this shit.
A suicide code.
Characters you go against Dutch and Rambo.
That's such a like a prime just IP to like make into a video game.
Yeah.
That they really. No, I don't like one because who owns the rights to it? It's Warner Brothers, right?
It's Fox.
Is it Fox?
Yeah.
Okay. So
It's Fox.
I feel like they should definitely make a game out of it.
That's amazing.
I mean, we saw how good like Alien Isolation one is. Like
Yeah.
Alien Isolation is an awesome game,
It is.
and that's like a survive. That's like that's legit one of the scariest games I've ever played. Is Alien Isolation. It's so stressful because you're just like, and you don't think a game where you're hiding in a locker for 30 minutes is fun, but holy shit, is it fun? Because the alien's just there looking for you, and you're just like, when do I pop out? Okay, oh, turn around, let me go, and then you open it, and it just turns around, and you're dead. Or you think you're running away, and then you just get a tail right through your stomach, and you're like, "Oh, come on!"
There we go.
I know that's happened to you many times.
A couple times. But I take that with pride.
Yeah,
I take that. It's honorable death.
yeah.
All right, well, I think this podcast has run its natural course, so thank you guys for listening, and like always, feel free to comment, reach out to us. We have Facebook pages, we have
YouTube
comment
channels.
sections on YouTube, on the YouTube channels. If you have any ideas, send them our way. If you just want to discuss things, you think we're wrong, you think we're idiots, go ahead and put that there too. We can talk about it.
Yeah.
But thanks for listening.
All right, Wheezy signing out.
Some Cuban guy.
Before, sir.
This is Mr. Psycho. Have a great evening.
Later.
Please don't sue us. We broke.